All right, welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped to have you here today because we're looking at something that is honestly a total game changer. We are going to unpack the 2026 Learning Report on Ikigai. Now listen, this isn't just another passing wellness trend, okay? We're talking about a deeply researched, heavily documented framework that could literally change how we approach living longer and actually enjoying those years. So get comfortable and let's decode this whole thing together.
It's pretty much the ultimate human question, isn't it? What is the actual secret to a long, happy life? Well, to answer that, I want you to mentally pack your bags for a second. We're heading over to Okinawa, Japan, specifically to a place famous worldwide as the Village of Longevity. Out there, living to see 100 isn't some rare freak occurrence. It's practically expected. And the locals credit their incredibly long lives to one very specific concept.
Okay, let's dive right into this. That concept, it's called Ikigai. Now, a rough translation of that is the happiness of always being busy, or more simply, a reason for being. But to be clear, we're not just talking about having a fun little weekend hobby here. Research shows that this is the hidden spiritual framework that actually drives their massive life expectancy. It's literally the reason they get out of bed in the morning. It acts like an engine for both physical health and mental vitality.
And to really understand this from the inside out, we're drawing straight from a massive, comprehensive report put together by Thong Veasna. He's an L&M trusted coach, and he authored the 2026 Learning Report on this exact topic. He does this brilliant job of synthesizing ancient Eastern traditions with modern Western psychology, and that synthesis is going to be the absolute foundation for everything we talk about today.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to cover 1. The secret of Okinawa. 2. The psychology of purpose. 3. Mastering the flow state. 4. Fueling the centenarian body. 5. Building an anti-fragile mind. And finally, 6. The rules of Ikigai. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The secret of Okinawa, the Village of Longevity. Let's drop right down into the heart of this incredibly unique blue zone.
So if you didn't know, blue zones are these rare regions around the world where people live the longest, and Okinawa is basically the king of them all. But why? Well, looking at their daily habits, they all share a few really specific things. They eat very little meat or processed food. They drink alcohol only in moderation, and they engage in daily, low-intensity movement. We're talking about things like gardening or going for a gentle walk, not, running triathlons. And this highlights a crucial biological point from the report. These habits keep their baseline stress incredibly low. See, high stress triggers this constant flood of cortisol and adrenaline. That damages healthy cells and actually weakens your telomeres, which are the little structures responsible for cellular regeneration. By just moving gently and eating cleanly, they're literally preventing premature aging at a cellular level.
Moving right along to Section 2, the psychology of purpose, combating emptiness. Because, let's be real, the mind is just as important as the body here.
The report points out that a lot of us in modern society deal with this specific existential vacuum. They call it Sunday neurosis. That creeping sense of dread you feel sitting on the couch when you suddenly don't have any obligations. To fight that, the report brings in logotherapy, and it's perfectly summed up by this quote from Viktor Frankl. He who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how. Finding your Ikigai gives you that exact why. It takes that internal emptiness and fills it up with driving purpose, turning frustration into some serious forward momentum.
Now, what's really interesting here is the contrast in how different cultures handle this. Western therapy, it often spends a lot of time trying to modify or change how you feel internally. But Japan's Morita therapy goes down a totally different path. It basically treats your emotions like the weather. Think about it. You can't control the rain, so why exhaust yourself trying to stop it? You just accept it, and instead you put all your focus into purpose-centered action. Morita therapy asks, okay, what do we need to be doing right now? You anchor yourself in your actions rather than just spinning your wheels in your own thoughts.
All right, Section 3, Mastering the Flow State, Finding Joy in Action. Let's look at how this purpose actually translates into what we do every day.
Action is where we find flow. Flow is that magical zone where you are so completely absorbed in what you're doing that the rest of the world just kind of fades away. The report gives us 3 essential steps to hit that state. First up, pick a difficult task, but just slightly outside your comfort zone. That way, you're not paralyzed by anxiety, but you're also not bored to tears. Second, and I absolutely love this analogy, set clear objectives by using a compass, not a map. You need a general direction to head toward. Having a super rigid, stressful step-by-step map, that just ruins the adventure. And third, concentrate on a single task, which, unfortunately, brings us to a harsh reality.
Multitasking is an absolute flow killer. No joke, the report calls it a flow-impeding epidemic. It slashes your productivity by a whopping 60%, and it literally lowers your IQ in the moment. Crazy, right? So let me ask you directly. How many times today have you broken your own concentration to check a notification or toggle between browser tabs? If you truly want to find your Ikigai and live a long, fulfilling life, multitasking has got to go.
Section 4. Fueling the Centenarian Body, the Okinawan Diet. We've covered the mind, so let's shift gears and talk about fuel.
The Okinawans have what scientists literally call a miracle diet. They hold the lowest mortality rate from cardiovascular disease in all of Japan, and it boils down to a few core rules. First, insane variety. They average 18 different foods every single day. Second, a massive vegetable base, mostly sweet potatoes and greens, making up about 30% of their daily calories. They also consume barely a fraction of the sugar and salt compared to the rest of the country. But the biggest secret weapon? It's called hara hachibu.
So the crucial point is the 80% rule, hara hachibu. This is the Japanese practice of putting your fork down when you feel 80% full. Why in the world would you do that? Because long, heavy digestive processes cause cellular oxidation. Basically, by stopping at 80%, you're giving your body all the nutrients it needs, but you aren't forcing it into an exhausting, damaging overdrive. It is a super simple but absolutely massive key to longevity.
Moving on to Section 5. Building an anti-fragile mind, beyond resilience. Let's bring it back to mindset. The report introduces us to these beautiful Japanese philosophical concepts like wabi-sabi, which is finding beauty in imperfection, and ichigo ichie, the awareness that this exact moment is never going to happen again. But practically speaking, how do we protect our minds? Well, we have to move way beyond just being resilient. See, resilience is just taking a hit and bouncing back to where you started. Anti-fragility, that is getting better and growing stronger when you're exposed to chaos. You aren't just surviving the storm is actually upgrading you into a more formidable person.
So how exactly do you build that personal armor and become anti-fragile? Well, you have to create redundancies. We're talking multiple income streams or diverse groups of friends, so if one area of your life takes a hit, you aren't totally wiped out. Next, take small, calculated risks that have big potential rewards. And finally, you have to ruthlessly eliminate your vulnerabilities right now. Cut out the toxic people, pay down the debt, stop the unhealthy snacking. You eliminate the fragile parts of your life so the rest of you can grow stronger.
And here we are at Section 6, the rules of Ikigai, distilled wisdom. This is the grand finale.
This is where we pull everything together into the distilled wisdom of Ogimi's centenarians. Think of these as your ultimate daily operating system. Number 1, stay active and don't retire. Always have something valuable to do. 2, take it slow. Rushing just kills your quality of life. 3, follow that 80% eating rule. 4, surround yourself with good friends. 5, smile. 6, reconnect with nature. 7, give thanks every single day. And 8, live fully in the moment.
Which brings us to the final, ultimate rule. Follow your Ikigai. And that leaves us with the single most important question of this entire explainer. What is your Ikigai? Deep down, underneath everything else, what is that unique talent or driving purpose that gives your days actual meaning? I really want to challenge you to use the tools we've talked about today to start uncovering it. Honestly, it might just be the secret to the longest, happiest life you could possibly live. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today.